South African, apologies for that. The Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, says consumers will be impacted by the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the short term. He emphasized while there's no threat to humans, the transport of meat to curb the spread is currently inhibiting the output at abattoirs. Steenhuisen was speaking at the 31st Conference and Congress of the Red Meat Abattoir Association. Well, experts say the outbreak quickly spread from KZN, causing major knock-on effects, including a ban on exports. Steenhuisen says 42 million rands being spent on vaccines that will be administered as soon as possible. He addressed the media on this and other issues pertaining to the meat industry.
The rollout will start as soon as the vaccines arrive from Botswana. We procure foot and mouth vaccines from the Botswana Vaccine Institute because we don't produce locally, although that is something that's being worked on by the Agricultural Research Council, and we hope to, in the short to medium term, be able to have our own vaccine here in South Africa. But there also are some advances internationally around vaccine therapies that we will also be exploring. Once those vaccines arrive, there's 900,000 of them. The department set aside 42 million rand to procure vaccines. First batch arrives, we will start with the vaccination in the disease management areas, as well as some of the feedlots in Gauteng, where the outbreak is obviously starting to have an economic effect. And obviously it's very important that we get it under control there.
And you were also speaking about basically actually negligence of people.
Well, look, I think that biosecurity is everybody's responsibility. And it's very easy in times like this to point a finger to government and say, well, why weren't you doing this? But the reality is that if you have farmers who are conducting auctions in disease management areas, who are being reckless with the way in which these auctions are being conducted, and then sending out from those auctions animals that have not been properly screened or traced or their origin being determined, and sending them out to other provinces, you do economic damage, not only to your own business, but as we've seen now, having to shut down exports to places like China and the like. It does economic damage to the country. And so I've said very clearly to our Director General that we need to take a strong line now against those who transgress the regulations. I will in the next day or two be gazetting, we've already signed them off in the department, some stricter regulations now that will govern auctions and the movement of animals, particularly in disease management areas, and those are going to be very, very strictly enforced. Anyone who breaks those laws will face prosecution and potential civil recovery from others who have been economically harmed by their selfishness or recklessness. And government's responsibility for monitoring and enforcing is going to be pushed incredibly hard and to the forefront to ensure that we establish a very clear culture in the country where all of us in the entire value chain take responsibility for biosecurity.